In the quiet ache of a fractured family, where silence has long guarded fragile secrets, Ariana Morales gathers the courage to face the ghosts of abandonment that haunt her bloodline. Years of unspoken pain have eroded their bonds, leaving only echoes of what once was whole. And now, in a space heavy with the weight of confession, she stands ready to voice the truths that could either heal or unravel them forever. The converted living room hummed. The converted living room hummed with the low whir of camera lights, casting stark shadows across faded wallpaper and the cluttered coffee table. Ariana Morales stood at the center, her hands clasped tight around a worn family photo. Smiling faces from a decade ago, before the cracks. The space felt smaller than ever, walls pressing in like unspoken accusations. An empty chair sat in the corner, a deliberate void beside the worn couch where Rosa perched, her knuckles white on the armrest. Daniel slouched against the doorframe, arms crossed, his eyes flicking to that chair as if it mocked him. June Carter, the outsider with her notebook and steady gaze, nodded from behind the lens. "Ariana, whenever you're ready," June said softly, her voice a gentle prod. Ariana swallowed, her throat dry as sandpaper. The stiffness gripped her, shoulders rigid, words lodged like stones. She'd built her life on this quiet, the kind that glued them together without asking too much. But now, inviting them here, she felt the weight of it cracking. "Okay," she said, voice barely above a whisper at first. She cleared her throat, forcing resolve into her tone. "We're doing this documentary because the silence isn't working anymore. It's not protecting us. It's just holding everything in, letting it fester." Rosa shifted, her lips thinning. "Mija, do we have to drag this out? We've managed fine." "Managed?" Ariana's voice sharpened, the tension coiling inward, a knot in her chest. She gestured to the empty chair. "That chair's been empty for years. Dad's gone, and we act like it's just there. But it's not. It's us. What's missing because no one said it out loud?" Her eyes locked on Daniel, who hadn't spoken since arriving, his jaw set like he might bolt. The air thickened, a knife of silence slicing between them, mutual wariness pushing them apart, even as she pulled them in. Daniel finally uncrossed his arms, leaning forward. "You think talking fixes abandonment? I left because no one would say why he walked out, why Mom buried it." Rosa's eyes flashed. "Enough. This isn't—" "No," Ariana cut in, her stiffness melting into a tense determination, pulse hammering. She stepped closer, the camera's red light unblinking. "We choose now. Keep quiet and stay broken, or speak. I can't be the one holding the peace anymore. It's killing me." Her words hung, raw and urgent, the room pulsing with the unspoken. Would they see the emptiness that silence had guarded so fiercely, or turn away again? As the initial tension lingered, the door creaked open in the dim-lit living room, now cluttered with camera rigs and coiled cables, transforming their cramped suburban home into a makeshift confessional. Ariana stood frozen by the tripod, her fingers twisting the hem of her blouse, anxiety knotting her stomach like barbed wire. The empty chair waited in the center of the frame, its worn upholstery a silent accusation, marking the spot where absent voices should have sat for years. Daniel Morales stepped in, his silhouette sharp against the hallway light, duffel bag slung over one shoulder like a weapon. He was leaner than she remembered, eyes hardened by distance, the brother who'd vanished into the city's underbelly rather than endure another hushed family dinner. Rosa hovered behind Ariana, her face a mask of forced composure, hands clasped as if prayer could seal the cracks. "Ari," he said, voice flat, dropping the bag with a thud that echoed off the walls. No hug, no warmth. June Carter, the documentarian with her notebook and steady gaze, nodded from the corner, mic clipped to her collar, ready to capture it all. Ariana forced a smile, heart pounding. "Daniel, you made it. We were just setting up. Come, sit. It's good to—" "No." He cut her off, eyes locking on the empty chair, before flicking to the tape recorder on the table, its red light blinking like a watchful eye. "I'm not here for tea and apologies. You dragged me back for this healing circus. Fine. But no more games, no pretending the past is a ghost we tiptoe around." Rosa inhaled sharply, stepping forward. "Mijo, please. We've all suffered. Let's not—" "Suffered?" Daniel's laugh was bitter, raw. He strode to the chair, not sitting, but gripping its back like he might shatter it. "You call burying Dad's abandonment suffering? He walked out when I was 12, Mom. Left us with your silence as the only inheritance. And you—" He turned to Ariana, his sister, the one who'd always played peacemaker. "You invited me here to reconnect? Bullshit. Turn on that recorder. I want every word etched in tape. The facts. He chose his mistress over us. You chose quiet over fighting for him. And I chose to leave because staying meant choking on lies." Ariana's breath hitched, anxiety surging, visions of the family splintering further. Rosa's tears, the neighborhood whispers if this leaked. But beneath it, a spark ignited. The choice she'd dodged for years. Protect the fragile unity or let the truth flood in. Her hands trembled as she reached for the recorder, flipping the switch. The hum filled the room, unyielding. "Daniel, if we do this—" Her voice wavered, but resolve crept in, straightening her spine. "No more shielding." The camera's lens stared back, impartial. "Then we name it," he said, finally sinking into the empty chair. "Its creak a punctuation. Or we lose everything anyway." Rosa sank onto the couch, eyes wide with the threat of exposure. The sibling bond between Ariana and Daniel taut as a live wire. June leaned in, whispering, "Keep going." But the air hung heavy with the unspoken. Could they claim the past without the family crumbling in its wake? Ariana met her brother's gaze, the anxiety ebbing into steel determination. The tape rolled on. With the recordings underway, the cramped living room pulsed under the harsh glow of portable lights, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken regrets. Ariana sat at the head of the scarred oak table, her fingers hovering over the play button on the old tape recorder. Across from her, Rosa clutched a frayed handkerchief, eyes fixed on the empty chair beside her, the one that had always been Daniel's. He slouched opposite, arms crossed, his jaw a rigid line. The prodigal brother finally dragged back into this makeshift confessional studio. "Let's start with the truth," Ariana said, her voice steady, but laced with the tremor of someone teetering on a ledge. Confusion knotted her brow as she pressed play. Grainy archival footage flickered to life on the battered TV. A younger Rosa laughing in a sun-dappled park. Baby Ariana in her arms, toddler Daniel tugging at her skirt. Then, the frames stuttered. Gaps where Dad's silhouette should have been. A sudden cut to empty doorways. Echoes of slammed cabinets. The silence in the room thickened, broken only by the tape's mechanical hum. "Rosa," Ariana pressed, turning to her mother. "Why did he leave? And why did we pretend it was just life?" Her words hung like accusations, raw and unfiltered, no softening the blade. Rosa's lips parted, but nothing came, only a sharp intake of breath, her gaze darting to the wall where an old, cracked mirror leaned crookedly, its silver backing flaking like shed skin. In its warped surface, their reflections fractured. Rosa's lined face splintered into shadows, Daniel's averted eyes multiplying into a dozen ghosts. Daniel shifted, his voice a low rumble. "You want truth." He walked out because this house was a tomb. "And you, Mom, you buried it deeper." He didn't look at her. Eyes locked on the floor, the distance between them a chasm widening with each word. Rosa's tears finally breached, silent tracks carving paths down her cheeks, soaking the handkerchief. No interruptions, as per the rules. The camera June had set up, word on, an unblinking witness. Ariana's chest tightened, the confusion swirling into a storm. Why had she shielded this for so long? But as the footage looped back to that idealized family photo frozen on screen, she felt the shift, a painful resolve hardening her spine. She leaned forward, no longer waiting for nods of approval. "We can't fix it by staring at walls. Tell me, tell us, what broke first?" Her echo bounced off the mirror, distorting her own face into something fierce, cracked, but unyielding. In that fractured glass, could they glimpse themselves, pieced through the shards of a shattered past? The question lingered, unanswered, as the tape recorder clicked on, capturing the tears that finally pierced the veil. As the confessions deepened, the camera's unblinking eye caught the flicker of Daniel's jaw as he leaned forward in the cramped studio. The family home's faded wallpaper peeling like old skin behind him. Ariana sat across, her hands clasped in her lap, the tape recorder humming between them like a heartbeat no one could ignore. Rosa hovered in the doorway, arms crossed, an empty chair beside her, a silent accusation. The seat where their father should have been, now just a void, echoing years of absence. "I left because the silence choked me," Daniel said, his voice raw, slicing through the stale air. "No one said it. How Mom buried Dad's mess. How we all pretended the abandonment wasn't ripping us apart. You, Ariana, you kept the peace by saying nothing. But words unsaid, they're knives. They cut deeper than any fight." Ariana's pulse thrummed in her ears, anxiety coiling tight in her chest, a tremble starting in her fingers. She glanced at the empty chair, its worn cushion sagging under invisible weight, and felt the hollowness mirror her own, the family ghost they all circled but never touched. "Protect them," the old lie whispered. "Keep quiet. Preserve what's left." But Daniel's eyes bored into hers, demanding the recording continue. No pauses, no edits. "Turn it off if you want," he challenged. "But I'm not glossing over this. Not anymore." Rosa shifted, her face hardening. "Enough, Daniel. This isn't helping. We don't air our dirt like this." Her refusal hung heavy, pulling the threads of their bond taut, fraying at the edges. Siblings once, now strangers in the same room, the tension crackling like static on the archival footage playing faintly in the corner. Grainy clips of happier times, now tainted. Ariana's breath hitched, the anxiety swelling, threatening to drown her. But beneath it, a spark ignited, resolve flickering like a match in the dark. She could stop this, shield the fragile unity. Or she could speak, name the poison of silence that hadn't saved them at all. Her lips parted, the choice teetering on the edge. The empty chair watching, waiting. The tension peaked further when the camera's red light blinked steadily in the dim corner of the cramped living room, a makeshift studio where faded floral curtains hang like forgotten promises. Rosa Morales sits rigid in the worn armchair, her hands clasped tight in her lap, knuckles whitening as if gripping the last thread of her unraveling world. Ariana stands just off frame, her voice soft at first, laced with the protective urgency she's carried since childhood. Mom, please, just tell us why you never said anything about Dad leaving. The recorder's on. It's for us, for healing this. Rosa's eyes dart to the lens, then away, to the empty chair beside her, the one Daniel was supposed to fill, its cushion sagging under the weight of years, unoccupied. She shifts, her posture a fortress, shoulders hunched against the invisible siege. Protection surges in her chest, a maternal reflex honed by decades of swallowing shards to keep the family whole. No, Ariana, some things stay buried. Talking, it only digs up dirt we can't wash away. Ariana steps closer, the handheld mic trembling slightly in her grip. The air thickens, silence coiling like smoke, terrifying in its expanse. Rosa's refusal hangs there, a choice etched in the lines of her face. Shield the remnants of unity or let the floodgates crack. She rises abruptly, her chair scraping against the threadbare rug, the sound jagged in the quiet. I'm done, Rosa snaps, her voice cracking from defense to a sharp edge of irritation. You and your brother think cameras fix what's broken? They expose it, leave us naked for the world. She turns, skirts brushing the coffee table, cluttered with that old family photo, the one where they all smile, unbroken. Without a backward glance, she walks out, door clicking shut behind her like a final punctuation. Ariana freezes, the mic lowering as the empty chair looms larger in the frame, a void staring back. The tape recorder whirs on, capturing the hush that swells, heavier now, a barrier no one can cross unspoken. She doesn't follow, doesn't plead. Instead, she nods to June behind the camera. Keep rolling. The silence intensifies, Daniel's absence echoing in it. The rift between mother and son yawning wider. How do you hold on to a mother who chooses the grave over the grave? Ariana sinks into the vacated seat, the emptiness pressing in, and whispers to the lens, "She's gone again." The red light blinks, unblinking witness. In the aftermath of Rosa's departure, Ariana stood alone in the dim hallway of the family home, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken regrets. The tape recorder hummed on the rickety side table, its red light blinking like an insistent heartbeat. She hesitated, fingers trembling as she adjusted the microphone, the weight of the empty chair in the corner mocking her solitude. Her mother's voice echoed faintly from the kitchen, Rosa murmuring to herself, folding linens as if that could iron out the creases in their history. She glanced at the weathered mirror propped against the wall, its silver frame cracked from years of neglect, the glass fogged and splintered like a fractured memory. In its distorted surface, Ariana saw her own face, eyes shadowed, lips pressed thin, a woman unraveling thread by thread. The reflection stared back, unyielding, forcing her to confront the lie she'd clung to like a lifeline. "Keeping quiet preserves us," she whispered to the empty room, the words tasting like ash. But they didn't. They eroded her from the inside, hollowing out the core she'd built on illusions of unity. Anxiety clawed at her chest, a vice tightening with every breath. What if speaking shattered the remnants? Rosa's weary glances during yesterday's session, the way she'd deflected Daniel's accusations with a trembling hand, exposing the truth, could drive the final wedge, leaving Ariana more adrift than ever. The family photo on the mantel, all forced smiles and faded colors, seemed to watch her, whispering warnings of chaos. Yet silence wasn't salvation. It was the slow poison seeping into every crack, widening the void left by abandonment. Her hand hovered over the record button. This was the choice. Swallow the pain again, or let it spill. No softening, no retreat. With a sharp inhale, she pressed play. "This is Ariana Morales," she said, voice cracking but steadying. "The lie is that silence saves us. It doesn't. It's killing me, killing all of us." Daniel walked away because we never asked why. Mom buried it to protect appearances, but look what it's done. The words poured out, raw and unfiltered. Her internal storm captured on tape. Tension with Rosa simmered unspoken between them, a growing chasm that might finally allow voices to breathe. As she outlined notes for the next interview, probing deeper into Rosa's secrets, the anxiety ebbed into a painful resolve. Sharp as the mirror's edges, she could expose her pain, name the abandonment aloud. But could she do it without demolishing what little held them together? The question hung in the air, unanswered, as the recorder clicked off. Building on her solitary resolve, the camera's red light blinked like a heartbeat in the dim living room, its lens trained on the circle of mismatched chairs. Ariana sat rigid, her hands clenched in her lap, the empty chair beside her a silent accusation. Daniel's spot, forever vacant since he'd walked out years ago, leaving only echoes. June Carter leaned forward from her director's perch, her voice cutting through the thick air like a scalpel. "No interruptions this time, Ariana. Let it out. The tape's rolling." Ariana's breath hitched, anxiety coiling in her chest like barbed wire. Her eyes darted to Rosa, her mother, whose lips pressed into a thin line, and to the shadowed corners where the family's unspoken pact hung heavy. "I've spent my life swallowing it," Ariana began, her voice a tremor at first, raw and unpolished. "The way you all just let him go, Daniel. Gone, and no one says why. No one admits the hole he left ripped us all open." She paused, but June's nod urged her on, the camera whirring softly, capturing every fracture. Rosa shifted, her hand twitching as if to speak, but June's sharp glance pinned her. "She gets to finish." The room tensed, external pressure mounting like storm clouds, Rosa's eyes pleading, the weight of tradition bearing down. Internally, Ariana warred, the old lie whispering to stop, to preserve the fragile peace. But the words surged now, a choice forged in fire. "It wasn't just him leaving. It was you, Mom, hiding it all, pretending we were fine. I carried that silence for you, for us, until it choked me. The abandonment? It started before Daniel. It was in every quiet dinner, every avoided glance. I was 12 when Dad died, and you buried him with all our pain. I won't anymore. This hurt, it's mine too, and it festers because we never named it." Her voice rose, steadying into something fierce. Liberation unfurling like a long-held breath released. The empty chair seemed to loom larger, its void no longer invisible, but pulsing with the family's shared grief. Rosa's face crumpled, tears silent but unbidden. The space between them yawned wider, a chasm of forced listening. No one dared interrupt, the forbidden weight of the rules holding them captive. Yet in that rupture, a sliver of possibility flickered. Could words like these bridge the gap, or would they shatter the family irreparably? Ariana met their eyes, unyielding. "I'm done protecting the lie. Who we are. It starts here." The camera caught it all, the air electric with what came next. The emotional flood continued as the cramped living room pulsed with the hum of the tape recorder, its red light unblinking like an accusatory eye. Archival footage flickered on a nearby screen, grainy images of a younger family, smiles frozen before the fractures. But no one watched. The empty chair sat in the circle's center, a void that mocked their gathering, its cushion untouched, embodying the ghost of departures long unnamed. Rosa Morales shattered first. Her hands clutched the armrests, knuckles white, as a guttural scream tore from her throat. "Silence, that's how I survived," she wailed, her voice cracking like splintering wood. "You think I wanted this? Burying it all, pretending the holes weren't there. It kept us alive, kept you from falling apart." Tears streamed down her lined face, mascara smearing into black rivulets. The empty chair loomed larger in the frenzy, a silent witness to the void they'd fed with quiet. Ariana stood, trembling but resolute, the hysteria ebbing into a taut wire of determination. Her choice burned clear: no more protection through evasion. "Then let it kill the silence," she declared, eyes locking on Rosa's. "Because this, us pretending, is already dead." The room hung on her words, fractures widening, yet a fragile thread of dialogue sparked. Daniel nodding faintly, the brothers leaning in. Could they name the killer and still hold on? The tape whirred on, unanswered. As the hysteria subsided into focused confrontation, the camera's red light blinks like a heartbeat in the dim studio, casting harsh shadows across the cramped Morales living room. Empty chairs cluster around the coffee table, relics of a family half gone. Ariana sits rigid in the center, her hands trembling on the tape recorder's worn buttons. June Carter, the interviewer, hovers off camera, her steady gaze a silent anchor. "Don't stop now." Ariana's voice cracks, anxiety twisting her gut like a knife. "We've danced around this for years. The absences, the way you left, Daniel." Her brother shifts in his seat, eyes fixed on the floor, the space between them a chasm. Rosa, her mother, perches on the edge of the couch, lips pressed into a thin line, silence her armor. But Ariana feels the weight of that empty chair beside her, the one meant for the father who vanished, the siblings who scattered like smoke. It mocks her, this void. No longer just absence, but abandonment, raw and named. Her breath hitches, pulse racing. What if speaking shatters everything? The family unity she's clung to, fragile as cracked porcelain? No, she hits record, the whir filling the room like a confession's first breath. "It wasn't just leaving, Mom. It was abandonment. You knew, and you said nothing. Daniel walked out because of it, and I stayed quiet to keep us together. But that's the lie. The poison." Words tumble out, urgent, unfiltered. Pain of nights alone, promises broken, the hollow echo of doors slamming shut. Her voice rises, not in anger, but resolve, stealing her spine. She won't smooth it over, won't retreat to whispers. Rosa's eyes flicker, but she says nothing. Her silence, a wall. Daniel leans forward, jaw tight, the distance widening, yet cracking open. Will he echo her? June nods faintly, camera steady, capturing the rupture. Ariana turns to them all, voice firm now, the anxiety burned away. "We name it together, or we lose what's left. Say it with me. Abandonment. Can we face that and still be family?" The tape spins on. The empty chair looms, waiting for an answer. No one speaks. Finally, as the truths settled into the room, the camera's red light blinked steadily in the cramped living room. Now a makeshift confessional, scarred by the day's raw unravelings. Ariana sat rigid on the sagging couch, her hands clenched around the edges of the shared family photo, its glossy surface cracked from years of being tucked away, faces smiling in a unity that felt like a lie. The empty chair loomed beside her, a ghost of absences no one could ignore anymore. Daniel shifted in his seat across the coffee table, eyes darting to the door. "I'm not staying for this," he muttered, voice thick with the old resentment. You drag it all out, Ariana. And what? We just sit here, bleeding on camera. Rosa, her mother, clutched a tissue, face ashen under the harsh studio lamp. Enough. We've said too much already. Turn it off, June. This isn't us. Her words hung, a plea to retreat into the silence that had buried them for decades. June, the interviewer, leaned forward from her director's chair, microphone poised, but silent. The rules stand. No interruptions. But the choice is yours now. Who stays? Who walks? Anxiety coiled in Ariana's chest, a vice tightening as the room's tension thickened the air. Her pulse hammered. What if speaking the truth shattered them irreparably? Daniel's abandonment, Rosa's secrets, they'd cracked open wounds she'd bandaged with quiet for so long. But the photo in her lap mocked her. Its faded smiles, a reminder of the void, silence had widened. No, Ariana said, her voice starting as a tremor, but sharpening like a blade. She set the photo down deliberately, its crack catching the light. I'm done pretending. Daniel, if you leave, that's your choice. But don't expect me to chase the ghost you became. Mom, your silence poisoned us. It left me holding the pieces alone. Rosa's eyes widened, tears spilling. Ariana, please. I said no interruptions. Ariana's breath steadied, anxiety yielding to a fierce resolve that straightened her spine. I'm setting boundaries. We talk, honestly. Or we don't at all. No more burying the pain to keep up appearances. If you stay, it's for real conversations. Weekly. No cameras if you need. But no euphemisms. No acting like Dad's leaving didn't rip us apart. Truth over unity. Or nothing. Daniel paused at the door, hand on the knob, his face warring. Flee or face? Rosa reached out, then withdrew. The distance between them suddenly vast, built on unfiltered reality. June nodded subtly, the tape recorder whirring on. The room held its breath, the photo's cracked frame a silent witness. Could this honesty bind them anew, or would it sever the last threads? Ariana met their eyes, unyielding, her choice made. No more voids,